of this point have we gotten to the point where we can hold a meeting where there's only maybe one person who's experiencing some kind of difficulty. So the point is, what we're doing, it may not continue on. I've thought about this myself. How long can we go on where we don't have public participation? Because we don't know how long COVID is going to be. So the point is, we can adjust and we can work on adjusting, but it's not necessarily we're ignoring, because there are a lot of people who call the council people up. So if you really have some real concerns, you can also call your council person up until we get it together. But, and it's not about me trying to ignore anybody. I can tell you personally, it's very stressful just trying to hold a meeting, period, under these circumstances. We try to go back into the city hall. We try to do it remotely. There's always so many things to work through. So my point is, the tools offer all kinds of features, but we could barely get into this meeting and operate this effectively. So we will work on and consider that input, but we will do it as we feel that, or I feel that my council has gotten comfortable with just trying to hold this one meeting, to hold these meetings, shall I say, effectively. So that's where we're at with that idea. Because in one sense, I can't expect that we can indefinitely say, okay, we're not going to hear anything. But I can say when we did have a public hearing, we did take some public input. But this is not an easy experience for you all. It's not an easy experience for us either. And again, I can say other cities might be doing things differently, but we're not the other cities. So that's where I'm at right there. I'm willing to consider, and I have been thinking about it lately, and we will try to work through trying to include more public input, but I have to take it at the pace of my council first. Anybody else want to add to any comments to that statement?
Well, yes, Madam President, I would just say that the gentlewoman has indicated it's the intent of the council to not have input. And I would just like to say that it's not my intent not to have input, but under these circumstances, I believe you said it very correctly, Madam President, that we're doing the best we can. That's all I'd have to say.
Yes, and it's funny because sometimes when people feel that they understand how to use technology, then everybody else should too at that same pace, but they don't. I use Microsoft Teams all the time at work. I set up this meeting tonight, this other executive session meeting. It seems like everything that could have went wrong with me with setting up. Everybody was telling me I'm not in, I hadn't closed out another session. So this is a big transition for us all. So people can take it personally, but we're not trying to take anything personal about what we're trying to do. We're just trying to do a job. As the mayor always say, a volunteer job. So we're trying to do it to the best of our ability under the circumstances. And I apologize for anybody who feels offended or neglected, but we're just trying to get this job done under our circumstances with our limited capabilities. And I am an engineer, but when I use another tool and I bring in several other people into this mix, there are things that's out of my control. And just for each of these people who are on my council, a lot of things occur that is out of their control when they try to call into these meetings. It's not there any user ability. Sometimes the systems that we're working with, our networks go down. So that's where that's all about. So to cut down on the stress is where it has been for me. I was thinking, because usually I've been so stressed, and the last 2 meetings is time that I've been the least stressed of all in trying to do this, because now I feel like I'm getting more comfortable with this process. And I feel like more of my people are coming into these meetings with less stress. So we will take Dr. Ackerman's input into consideration is where I will leave that. Anything else?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I know it's new to all of us, but there is a chat feature that
I know that.
Maybe we can talk offline and see what we can work out and try to accommodate.
Right, and so that's my whole point. I know there are chat features, but the point is, if we have chat features and we have to figure out who's going to be operating chat as well as, queuing us in with the chat feature, because when I was just trying to figure out, when I run my meeting, I'm always getting a chat while I'm trying to run this meeting. And when I do that, my focus goes. So that's the thing. You have to have a person controlling the chats, feeding the chats back. We're all doing this from our own homes, you know? So you have to try to run that meeting and do those chats. But we have to figure out that part. As I said before, I've been just trying to figure out how to have a meeting, just to have the meeting. So we can work on the chat. And as I said before, when I use Microsoft Teams at work, we use chat with Teams at work. We do PowerPoints, we do everything. We're pulling documents, we're sharing screens. But with this Zoom stuff, it's a whole nother monster for me. And it's a whole nother monster for most other people. And then I even have some people who are on this council who never used any of this stuff. And now they're using this stuff. So we're talking about a big learning curve. And sorry if people are offended, but everybody don't like adapt at the same time. So to throw in chat when we can barely get into the chat room, period. I mean, we can barely get into the Zoom room. Get my point? So that's all. That's what I said. So we're gonna move on to old business and we will take that into consideration. But when my council feels comfortable enough to migrate to that next level, then we will do that. So we'll move on to old business. We don't have any. Let's go to new business.
All right, under new business, we have ordinance 69, 2020, introduced by Ursu, first reading. An ordinance to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Richmond Heights, state of Ohio, during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020, to amend ordinance numbers 21, 2020, and 56, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Yes, Madam President, as mentioned in caucus, we covered this piece of legislation in Finance Committee of Council and recommended its passage. And if our Finance Director would like to chime in at this point, that would be welcome as well.
Okay.
Yes, as discussed this evening in the Finance Committee meeting, this legislation is necessary to amend the appropriations. The first one is from the general fund going into contractual items in the administration, and it would be a change of $45,000 extra, mainly to pay for the Lyndhurst cost allocation that the city needs to pay. And the second item on there is Fund 219, which is a new fund that needs $1,500 appropriated so that we can expense the items that were part of the Attorney General's grant for the police training for the schools. And the final one is the Corona Relief Fund. It's a new fund also, 220, which needs a new appropriations of $189,014.44 so that we can start expending those funds for the COVID fund, COVID relief, I should say.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules on 69, 2020.
Second.
Alexander,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Lentine,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Ursu.
Yes,
Move for passage.
second
Second.
motion.
Alexander,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Lentine,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Ursu.
Yes,
Ordinance 69, 2020 passes unanimously.
Resolution 70-2020, introduced by Ursu, first reading. A resolution authorizing the Director of Finance to perform a certain interfund transfer and declaring an emergency.
yes, Madam President. Again, we also discussed this in Finance Committee last week and also in caucus, and recommendation is to move forward this evening on this piece of legislation as well. And if our Finance Director would like to comment at this point, that'd be welcome.
Yes, this ordinance is an interfund transfer that is necessary. It's part of the original appropriations ordinance earlier this year that we passed, and it's to fund the road program for the year 2020. The contract was executed a few meetings ago, and this is just a housekeeping item that we need to transfer these funds from the general fund to the Capital Improvement Fund 410, which is street improvements.
Thank you, Jim.
Move for suspension.
Second the motion.
Alexander,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Lentine,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Ursu.
Yes.
Move for passage.
Second.
Alexander,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Lentine,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Ursu.
Yes.
Resolution 70, 2020 passes unanimously.
Resolution 71, 2020, introduced by Mayor Roach, first reading. A resolution authorizing the disposal of equipment that is unneeded, obsolete, and unfit for city purposes.
Yes, I recommend passage this evening. We had a discussion at the meeting of the whole.
Move for suspension.
Second the motion.
Alexander,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Lentine,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Ursu.
Yes.
Move for
Move for
passage.
passage.
Second the motion.
Alexander,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Lentine,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Ursu.
Yes.
Resolution 71, 2020 passes unanimously.
Resolution 72, 2020, introduced by Mayor Roach, first reading. A resolution confirming the appointment by the mayor of Robert Wygant to fill a vacancy on the Architectural Board of Review of the city.
I think we have an excellent candidate, and I would appreciate the confirmation of the appointment this evening. Thank you.
Move for suspension.
Second the motion.
Alexander,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Lentine,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Ursu.
Yes.
Move for
Move for
passage.
passage. Second.
Second.
Alexander,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Lentine,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Ursu.
Yes.
Resolution 72, 2020 passes unanimously.
And that is it for the legislation.
Thank you. Are there any additions or correspondence? More?
Madam President, I have a suggestion.
Yes.
I don't believe any person on this council has the intent of, during this era of COVID-19, the circumstances that we have to operate our meetings under, has the intent, as was implied in that letter, to somehow curtail public input. Maybe, Madam President, it would be good for you to call for a motion indicating that fact, and we can all vote on it and be on record that that is not our intent under the circumstances.
Well, I call for such a motion. Can you put it on the floor for me?
I have a question. Wait a minute. Hold it, guys. How dare we have to make a motion to tell people that we're taking their viewpoints with credence? This is ridiculous. We're all sworn here to do a job, and we're all trying to do the job to the best of our ability. So for anybody out there that says that we're not doing that, especially not doing it intentionally, I take offense that I have to make a motion to tell you that's what I'm doing. That just rubs me the wrong way.
I agree, but
That's ridiculous.
There are people on Zoom that don't know better, and so I think it would be worthwhile under the circumstance to have such a motion. That's just my opinion, because there are people out there that could be on Zoom that don't follow our meetings, but they're on here occasionally now, and I think it'd be worthwhile just to make it clear.
So if you like to put that on the floor, I'm willing to vote to affirm that I have no intention of excluding anyone, as I said before. So I stick to it.
Do you folks understand what this motion says? This motion is telling the public that we are going on record that we're not going to offend you in any way by not hearing you and not doing the job. So by putting a motion up there, you have to vote yes. I mean, come on, this is.
No,
this is
that's a whole nother
unbelievable.
thing. What you're saying there is totally different because, hey, I can offend people just by showing up. You know that. So
It's one thing to offend people on purpose, but to suggest that this council is not doing a job and not trying to be upfront with everything that we do. We bend over backwards. Here it is past 10 o'clock at night, and we're sitting here still working on city business.
right.
If that doesn't show dedication, and everybody seems to get along on council, we have our differences, and that's what council is all about. We have differences, but we're out there, and I answer all my phone calls.
And we didn't take summer breaks. We didn't.
And we
This first year, we didn't. I take summer breaks either.
So to kowtow to this suggestion, I'm against it.
So Dan, what are you going to do? You want to pass on this because Ursu doesn't want, I mean, because Lindsay.
Well, I'm one person. Dan, I understand where Dan's coming from, and I appreciate his concerns, and I really do. But I'm just saying that it's
Right.
wrong. If we had a history, if we were actually doing that, then I'd say, yeah, absolutely, hit us with your best shot. But we're not doing that. Every one of these people on council, every one of these directors and department heads are doing it. It is a job, and we're doing it to the best of our ability.
That's it, to the best of our ability. That's the point, to the best of our ability. So we can close that meeting on that note. We are doing this to the best of our ability. When our ability improves, we can talk about migrating to some new. It's just as where we're. That's it,
Here.
to the best of our ability.
Well, that's all I could do. I don't know about
That's
you.
all I can do too, and that's where I've been. Because I was floored that when I tried to get that other meeting going, everything went wrong that could go wrong tonight. I was like, this should be pretty simple. I've done this
But you're
1,000
always going to have people out there that second guess. Politicians is a bad word to be called. It used to be a used car salesman. Used car salesman is not as bad as a politician. I don't know any of us that are on council that are really politicians. We're all
Hey,
here to
that's- no.
dedicate our time and our efforts to our community, and we're trying
Exactly,
to do a job.
because all of us have other professions that we do. You're exactly right, and that's the other reason why I always kept it, because you can't.
So to suggest something
stop
else,
from
I
me.
take
You can
offense to
take
that.
this one. But anyway, this meeting is going to be adjourned. You guys have a good night.
You're here. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I'm done.